Allow me to preface my video with a statement that will seem rather kind of strange. This essay will be explaining to you about what I consider the single most important thing that I will ever do in my entire lifetime. And that is the absolute truth. And so this essay is about one of my mentors, Don Quixote. It is about him failing, jousting with some of his windmills, and my failing with jousting with some windmills. I have, in the last half century, do sound old, don't I? In the last half century, after graduate school, I went to overseas and continued some postgraduate studies in Edinburgh, Scotland, traveled all over Europe, and in the past 5 decades, I've been to Europe, Middle East, Africa, subcontinent, India, Nepal, all of Indochina, Tibet, China, some Pacific islands. I have traveled all over the world. I love traveling. It is educationally good for me because I'm teaching, and I use it in my classes and write about it and put it in my webpage. But of all the countries I have spent time in the past half century, the one single most transformative country to me has been Myanmar. And I was there almost 3 years ago. And you're probably asking, what's so great about Myanmar? Most Americans aren't even sure where Myanmar is. It used to be called Burma. But from my experience, the most important thing about Myanmar to me has been its people. I've been to many, many countries, and the way people in Myanmar respond to foreigners or tourists is amazing. They'll stop you in the street and want to know where you're from and talk to you about things that they'd like to talk to you about. And how can I help you? And it's just, and when I was there 3 years ago, I had several tour guides that would drive you around with a driver, and they would take you to places where you wanted to see in that area. And 2 of those tour guides, their first names were Moh Moh and Tin. And I've written emails to both Tin and Moh Moh since returning to the United States after being there. One of the things that I wanted to accomplish when I was in Myanmar and Yangon, used to be the capital. Most Americans would know it as Rangoon. But the most important person that in my opinion, the most important person in the entire world when it comes to fighting for human rights is a woman called Aung San Suu Kyi. And the people of Myanmar refer to her as the lady. And I wanted to interview the lady for my webpage, for my classes. And when I went there 3 years ago, I tried to contact her, wasn't able. I mean, I didn't even know how to do it. I asked people, and I failed. And in many ways, I was like Don Quixote. And the picture that is in this essay is a picture that my daughter got me when she was in Spain a couple decades ago. And she asked me when she came back, before she came back, what would you like me to bring you back as a kind of a souvenir? And I said, I just want a picture of Don Quixote. And she must have said something to one of her friends who said, oh, you don't have to go and buy one. I'll do a pen and ink drawing of Don Quixote. And that pen and ink drawing, the picture of it is in the essay, but it hangs over on one of the walls in my office, and it has done so for over 2 decades. It is what I consider one of my treasures. And you'll notice when you look in the essay, the picture I took of it, it's not the Don Quixote that you're used to. Don Quixote that I'm used to and that you're used to and we think of all the time as the one that's out there with his lance in his hand on his horse, riding toward the windmill, jousting with another windmill of life. The pen and ink drawing, what I call one of my treasures, is a defeated Don Quixote. He jousted with a windmill, and the windmill beat him. And there lies an important lesson for each one of us, and certainly for me. What did Don Quixote do after losing and being defeated? He got up the next morning, got his lance, mounted his horse, and off he rode. Don Quixote is a person who taught me to dream the impossible dream and in spite of failure, get up the next day and fight. Get on your horse, ride with your lance and charge at whatever windmill that is important to you. As I said at the beginning of this video, of all the things that I want to accomplish in my time here on earth is to sit down with a lady and talk to her. Don Quixote would call that a windmill, something that I wanted to accomplish. But I'd failed. I went to Myanmar 3 years ago and didn't accomplish it. I mean, I couldn't find somebody that knew how to get a hold of Aung San Suu Kyi. I came home and I have something I call my hauntings. And those are things that haunt me. It's kind of like a voice in the back of my head saying, hey, Campbell, wake up, and basically the haunting was saying, okay, you failed one time trying to interview the lady. So what are you going to do? Quit? Or are you going to try again? And like Don Quixote, I learned from Don Quixote, try again. So I came home and have been negotiating with a committee. I'm still teaching at the college level, but I'm a retired Presbyterian minister. And what I'd like to do is to get a part-time job at a church within less than a quarter mile from me. It is a dying church. And I've danced with death twice, and I think that I have something to offer them. That church, I pass that church every day. And that church, there are two things I noticed, or three. One is that on Sunday morning, there's hardly anybody in the parking lot. A dozen cars maybe. But that's it. During the week, there is no car. Rarely do I see a car. There's so little traffic in their parking lot that grass is growing through the blacktop. There's almost no activity in that church. Although once a month, I think it is, that they have, they put up on their little billboard in the front of the church an announcement for an organization that comes in and rents space from them. And it's the time and the meeting place of this organization. And the organization is a support group for people whose family members have Alzheimer's. If there's a parable there in that church, it is the grass growing in the parking lot, and that they're renting space out on a monthly basis to an organization of family members who have suffered or are suffering from Alzheimer's. And I talked to a group of people, a committee, about wanting to work with the church, help them struggle as they're dancing with death as a congregation. And the reason for wanting to do that is because I have done literally danced with death twice, cracking my head open to have subdural hematoma or prostate cancer that had metastasized outside the prostate. And then over the last 8 years, I've done that dance and I'm healthy, cancer-free, and the only problem with the subdural hematoma or the traumatic brain injury is hearing aids. I don't hear really well. That's all. I feel like Lazarus. I've come alive, and now I want to help them come alive. So I met with a committee that oversees that organization, and I told them what I want to do. I want to help them because they're dancing with death. I know something about death. And I also want to get some money so I can go back and do some things in Myanmar and also interview the lady. And I sat in this committee and I told them exactly what you've heard. And their response was, "We'll get back to you, Campbell." You should be asking, and what did they say? Not one telephone call, not one email, nothing. And so I was writing to one of the tour guides, Moh Moh, and telling her about, trying to find this job and get this job. I mean, it's just, I could walk there in less than 10 minutes. And I was, I said, it just, I felt broken. I mean, it didn't make any sense to me. And Moh Moh obviously was thinking about Don Quixote, because in 2 or 3 sentences in an email, essentially she said to me what Don Quixote has said to me: "Hey, Campbell, so you stumbled and you fell. Get up, fight again." And that, and her encouragement, helped me address the issue of returning to Myanmar. And so I have talked to my congressman. He sent my emails to the ambassador in Yangon, and along with that email was an email to Aung San Suu Kyi. I'm contacting and I have their email address in the lady's office. And I have sent them all the material that they requested, and some other additional material about my request. That has been sent at the same time this essay has been posted. They have it in Yangon, in the lady's office. I have no idea when they're going to make their decision about whether I can come to Myanmar and interview the lady. But this is the most important thing that I will ever accomplish in my entire life. And I'm extremely optimistic. And I haven't heard a word from them yet. I mean, they just got it, the email with all the material. And there's no way for me, right now, I'm not even sure whether, because of time differences, whether anybody's been in the office even to look at my email back to them. But in the past week, I got my passport out of the bank. This is the visa to get into Myanmar. And when I was there 3 years ago, the entrance date of the visa was the 14th of December 2013, and I left in early January, just after attending a protest rally at Shule Pagoda on their Independence Day. There is no single event in my entire life, or an event that I would like to have come true, a dream, more important than this single event of sitting down and talking to the lady. I want to return to Myanmar to do several things. interview the lady, talk to her about what I can do. I have a couple ideas of things that I honestly believe would help her and the people in Myanmar acquire a more independent country and more freedom. But I also want to go back to Myanmar to see some of my friends. One of them is a tour guide by Tin who was with me at Shula Pagoda. And he's helped me in this endeavor about how to contact the lady. I also want to see Moh Moh and her husband Coco again. And I've written many articles about their family. But we had to stop at their home one day. She had to pick up some material so that I could get to another hotel or another. She had to pick up something. And so we went to her home, and for some reason, and this was toward the end of December of 2013, she had 3 children, and 2 of them at that time were toddlers, and they were in a daycare center. But she had a 9-year-old daughter by the name of Titi. And for some reason, she was home from school. It must have been some local holiday or something. I have no idea. But Titi is fluent in American English and in Chinese. And when I saw her, she said, "Nice to meet you," and very polite, very sweet child. And she says, "You want to play a game?" And I said, "What game do you want to play?" And she said, "Do you want to play Scrabble?" And for the next hour, Titi and I played Scrabble. The only problem with it is, this is the truth, she beat me. So I'm requesting to play again. And this is directed just to Titi. Titi, this time, you won't beat me. I'm practicing. And I'm going to be back in Myanmar soon. And we will play again, Scrabble. And this time, I'll win. Except for her parents, very, very few people in the world know who Titi is. But I'll tell you, when she has just heard this statement about me beating her or winning at Scrabble, you know what she's doing? She's laughing. She's saying, "Yeah, he's an old man. I can beat him. He's older than my grandfather." On a more serious note, my relationship with Titi is not just a friend of her mother's and her father's, but I see Titi as my granddaughter. I have 3 grandchildren in America, but Titi is also my granddaughter. And I'd like to see her again. So this essay is about Don Quixote failing, but he got back up on the horse and tried again. Look at my eyes. I plan to be in Myanmar in a short period of time based upon the schedule that Aung San Suu Kyi might have. And I'm sure she had not even seen the material I've sent her yet. But I'm convinced that I'll be there soon. So what difference does this make to you? In a way, this issue, even though it's a major issue for me, is simply a backstory. What difference does it make to you? I think it makes a big difference, because essentially what is happening is that Miguel Cervantes wrote Don Quixote. Don Quixote is a fictitious character, but it really is Miguel Cervantes' autobiography. It is a true story about how he failed before and stumbled and got up again. And therein lies a critical lesson for each one of us. I've learned my lesson. When you're defeated, get up and fight again. And that is an important lesson for each one of us to do. So thank you for watching this long video and reading the essay. In the meantime, you take care. Thank you.